Test. Check. Test, test, test. Great. All right. Hello, everyone. Hi there, folks. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. 5:59 to be exact. All right. Got everything moving and grooving here. Welcome to the CTA Live pre-show. And I'm just getting a couple things up. I'm going to go into the chat room. Hello to everybody over in the wonderful world of YouTube. Hi there, Jordan. Hello, my brother. Let's see here. Go see if there's anybody yet in the Facebook chat. There we go. All right. Mute. Go. Hello to everybody in the chat rooms on both YouTube and Facebook Live. Going to be starting here in just about 4 minutes or so. Today we're going to be talking about creating content on a Chromebook, and I'm also going to share with you guys a interview where I was interviewed. This is like the first time I've been interviewed, in this space as a church media professional. So I wanted to share it with you. It was a few weeks ago with Church Communications Today with Neil Fisher. And he and his co-host wanted to have me on their show. And it was one of their early shows. They've been going for a little while now. And it was one of their first couple of shows. And it was really cool. I was honored to be on it. So I thought I'd share that with you guys today. Excuse me one second. All right. Let's see here. Make sure everything's working. Yep. It's a working. So how has everybody been? How has your week been? What's been going on? I need a question of the day for each one of these episodes. I need a question of the day. Let's see. I guess since we're talking about Chromebooks for the first few minutes, I guess the question of the day is, have you ever used a Chromebook, and do you have a Chromebook? Do you even know what a Chromebook is? And yes, I had to shoo the dog out. I'll tell you what, that guy comes in here as soon as I get live and start talking. He is under the impression that means it's time for him to come in here and see what's going on. Crazy dog. He'll be elsewhere in the house. He'll be sitting looking at a window, watching to see if there's any squirrels. And golly, you'd think those squirrels' only job was to torment him, because that's what he thinks. Our dog Brian, that's his name. Actually, we have two dogs. Brian is a medium-sized dog, and he is my daughter Jana's service dog, and he is a really cool dog, really smart. Any of you guys that have been over here or go to church with us or have hung out with us know just how cool Brian is. I know Chris Oshinsky has been able to spend time with Brian, and she can vouch that he's really smart. Let's see here. We're going to be starting in about a minute and a half. So, let's see. Alrighty. So the question of the day, folks, if you are, and just tell me in the chat, just drop it in the chat. I'm curious, who has a Chromebook? Have you ever used a Chromebook? Do you know what a Chromebook is? If you don't, I'm going to show you. I don't have it set up where I can actually pipe in the feed for the Chromebook. Again, I'm not using my TriCaster to do this. I'm doing it here in my studio at the house. So I can't pipe it in as of yet. I have not found an Indy Chrome extension that would work with a Chromebook. Does that make sense? For those of you that are live streaming pros, NDI is the network device interface that was created by the folks over at New Tech, and it allows you to take an IP source, basically anything that can be enabled as such, to transmit over your network as a source for your video switcher. All right, so we're going to get started here. I'm going to stop the music. Here we go. Guys, if y'all have any questions, be sure to pop them in the chat. And we're going to get started here in just a second. Hey guys, welcome to another exciting adventure in church media with myself, Dave Curley. Welcome to CTA Live, the Church Training Academy live stream. And today we're going to be talking about a few different things. We're going to be talking about Chromebooks, and I'm going to be showing you how to do some photo editing on a Chromebook. And I'm also going to share with you guys an interview where I was being interviewed on Church Communications Today with Neil Fisher. It was one of his first couple of shows, and he had reached out to me and wanted me to be on his show, which is really cool. It's a real honor to do that. And for those of you who don't know who Neil is, he is, I'm trying to think about the best way to explain what he does. He is in the Lutheran faith. I am in the, I guess I subscribe to the Southern Baptist faith or whatever like that. I don't necessarily call myself a Baptist. I call myself a Christ follower. I'm a Christian, and I worship with a whole bunch of Baptists, if that makes sense. And Neil basically does the same thing, but with Lutherans. But he's like the head guy for communications in the area that he's in. In his, I don't know, they call it a synod, S-Y-N-O-D, I think is what it's called. If you're a Lutheran, you know what that means. If you're not, I guess if you're Catholic, you know it as a diocese, I guess. It's a region of the Lutheran Church, and he is the guy who is responsible for communications. As such, he communicates with all the pastors in the area, and then he also helps them to communicate more effectively with their congregation, and then he also helps the all the pastors and the whole synod or diocese or whatever communicate with each other and stuff. He's really cool, and one of his passions is live streaming and social media and all the great stuff that we're teaching here at Church Training Academy. That's all part of his passion, and he's sharing it with his people and growing those churches and helping to change lives doing it. So it's really cool to be able to be a part of that and be able to have the opportunity to speak to those churches and to speak to the people in his area and all that. So I'm going to share that interview with you guys in a few minutes. By the way, if we haven't met, my name is Dave Curley, and I am the founder of Church Training Academy. And a lot of people ask me, what is Church Training Academy? Are you teaching people how to be churches, or are you teaching, doing Bible study and all this? And that's not what I'm here for. I can do all that, but that's not what I'm here for. Church Training Academy is a website and a community where we learn and teach how to master and exploit the heck out of media and technology. So I've spent the past 20 years doing a lot of video production. I've done it, online, offline. I started putting video online back in, good heavens, it must have been like 97, 98, something like that. I mean, as soon as I figured out a way to embed a video in my webpage, I was doing that way back then. Of course, at that time, there weren't really any video hosts or anything. There was no YouTube, and there was none of that stuff. So what I would do is I would render out a really small graphic, and I would put it on the website. And basically just put it in like in a directory, and then I had a player, and I'm trying to remember, did I have a player? Or I mean, I know that we could like put a link or put the file there and put a link, and if you clicked on it, it would open up in the web page. I'm trying to remember though if there was a thing. All I remember is that I was doing a lot with Windows Media at that time, so like I was doing all these like Windows.asf files and stuff, and they were like highly compressed and all. Anyway, so I've been doing it since then, and over the years, God's called me to start taking all the stuff that I've learned, podcasting and video production and lighting and sound and you know. Heck, I'm learning email marketing, so my job is to teach you guys that stuff as well. You know, live streaming, all that sort of stuff, podcasting, all of that I've been learning and I've been doing. And he basically said, go out and equip churches and teach them how to do that. So I said, okay, yes, Lord, I'll do that. So that's what I am. And CTA Live is the live show that I do every week on Thursdays at not 1. Let's see. I guess it would be noon Eastern, 11 Central. And basically, I just come on here and we talk. Sometimes I interview folks, share some information. I usually come up with a really cool tool that I use or that I have been using that I like to share with you guys. By the way, that's one of the first things I want to do today before we get into the interview. Do you guys know what a Chromebook is? Has anybody ever heard of a Chromebook? I'll wait for an answer. Okay, nobody's talking. So a Chromebook is, well, I'll show you. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to hook this up yet to this system. The system I have out in my garage, the live set out there, I do have the ability to show you physically the insides of the machine and all that sort of stuff, but I can't do that here. But I will show you. This is a Chromebook, and yes, I do have my Star Wars thing on there. There you go. But see, if you'll notice, let's get it right there. There you go. So if you'll notice, it says Chrome right here, right? So what that is this is a stripped down PC, okay? When I say stripped down, the one that I have is from Acer, and it is a Acer C720, I believe is what it is. And it has a Celeron processor. It's got 4 gigabytes of RAM. It comes with a 16 gigabyte SSD, and I took that out and put a 128 gigabyte SSD in it. And it runs what's called Chrome OS. Basically, the entire thing is a Chrome browser, okay? I'm going to bring it up here real quick, and I'll show you. I will show you. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is what the interface is. It's basically a screen with links down at the bottom. These links down at the bottom, everything that it does, it brings up as if it were a Chrome instance. So literally, the Chrome browser, there you go. And I bought this a few years ago when I started realizing that a majority of what I do, with the exception of heavy content, sorry, I did not mean to breathe that hard into the microphone, heavy content creation, like video production, live streaming, and I can actually live stream from here, from the Chromebook, but like heavy content creation, video editing on the high end, audio editing on the high end, even photo editing and graphics work on the high end, things that I require heavier, more beefy tools to accomplish at the level that I want to accomplish. With the exception of those things, everything else I do happens in a web browser. And if you think about it, that's probably the same for you. When was the last time you, on a regular basis, launched some app that you have to use, right? Like a long time ago, our accounting was done with Quicken and QuickBooks, and you would get the disk and you would install the QuickBooks software on your computer, and then you would go to your menu or your icon, launch QuickBooks, and it would bring it up. If you were, like I do with Photoshop, so I use Photoshop all the time, so I launch the Photoshop application, and it launches and brings up, has nothing to do with my browser or anything like that. Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, things like that, you launch these dedicated programs to do. But a majority of the things that we're doing now are happening in Chrome or Firefox or, God forbid, Internet Explorer. By the way, guys, if y'all are still using Internet Explorer, I highly suggest you don't. Safari on Mac, right? Now, what's cool about things that are browser-based, for example, now if you're doing your accounting, you're going to QuickBooks.com and you're logging into your account, and then that brings up their interface, and then you start managing your checkbook and your accounts and all that, right? What's neat about things that are based on a browser, that means that they are ubiquitous, which means you can, as long as that browser will run on the platform, you can have access to that web page and that information and those tools that you need. So think about it. You install Chrome on your iPad. You launch the Chrome thing, and you can go to Evernote.com if you use Evernote, and you can have access to your Evernote account and everything that's in there. If you go to a Windows PC at your mom and dad's house, then you can get on their PC and you can go to Evernote.com or QuickBooks.com and launch and log in and do your work, right? If you're on your friend that uses Linux, you know, that one guy that we all know, we've all got that one guy that is the hardcore geek and doesn't want to have anything to do with Windows and doesn't want to have anything to do with Mac. He wants to fight the man, as it were, and he is using Linux, and he's been using Linux for 20-something years. And you go over to his house, and you need to get on the computer, and it's this weird-looking interface, something you've never really experienced before. But you can launch a Chrome browser, and you can log into Evernote, and you can get your information. Or you can log into QuickBooks, and you can manage your accounts. You get the idea? So things that are Chrome-based. Now, what Google did was they said, you know what we're going to do? We are going to come up with a operating system that can run on a machine that doesn't have a ton of horsepower. On an older machine, older laptops, on things that are designed to be really thin, really light, and very inexpensive to create, we're going to make an operating system for those. Part of the reason they did that was they were looking at third world countries and developing economies, and they were looking at how can we help the children in these things. How can we help children in Africa or in India or in these parts, these third world countries in the Middle East that don't have a whole lot of infrastructure, don't have a whole lot of resources? How can we bring knowledge to them in a cost-effective and highly effective way? So they came up with the idea of Chrome OS, and I don't even know if you guys remember this. There was a long time ago, maybe 10 years, there was that $100 laptop project that somebody had come up with. The idea being that they wanted to be able to create a laptop and have the software and everything on it for $100 so that you and I could donate $100 and that laptop gets sent to a school somewhere in a third world country, and a kid has access to the internet and information, and they can start learning and stuff. So anyway, Google came up with the idea of building the Chrome OS into these really small, thin and light devices. Now, this is not a workhorse, okay? It's not a 4 gigahertz i7, or the new i10 that has come out. It doesn't have a 4 terabyte hard drive built into it, and it doesn't have 32 gigs of RAM and stuff. But what's cool is that you could actually install the Chrome OS on something like that, and you'd have a really humongously beefy browser. Okay, I like these. I love these things. I bought this because I wanted to be able to. Number one, if you guys see how thin it is, this thing is it's like less than a pound. Okay, it's really thin. It's got an 11 point something inch screen. It's small. I can slip it into my bag. I can slip it in a laptop sleeve or something and go out and, sit at a Starbucks or do it in the car or take it to church or what have you. And it's not a big, heavy, bulky thing, but I have access to all of my stuff because I'm a Google user. So I use Google Drive and I use Google Photos and I use Google Docs and all that sort of stuff, right? And I use Evernote, so I can log into Evernote. I can do all that sort of stuff on here on a functioning PC that has got a very small form factor. Now, other people are doing this using MacBook Airs, right? And they're using the full Mac OS, and they have a much broader range of things that they can do on there. A lot of people are using iPads, and especially the iPad Pros. In a lot of cases, people are able to use an iPad Pro as a replacement for their laptop because the apps and the speed and the quality and all that sort of stuff has been able to be compacted into a device like that, and that's fantastic. You see a lot of people, especially on TV. It's weird. It's like Microsoft is sponsoring every single TV show. How many of these police procedurals and shows, Elementary or whatever, Hawaii Five-0 and all these other shows on there where people are using these Windows Surface tablets. And you always see them because it's just like a Surface with like this little screen, or not little screen, little keyboard that, I mean, you can barely even see. But I mean, they're doing all sorts of stuff, forensics analysis and all this kind of stuff. They're all using this. Well, but that Surface Pro, that Surface tablet is really cool, but they are kind of expensive. Now, for me, the happy place is with a Chromebook. Now, because it's all browser based, I have been on a quest to find out how to use it to create as much content as I can when I am remote. Okay, I've got a 17-inch MacBook Pro sitting over there. It's heavy. And it goes in my backpack, and when I put all the other stuff in my backpack and get it on, it's like, I love it. I travel with it. When I go out of town, when I'm going up to the church or someplace that I need to do some heavy lifting creatively, right, content-wise, I'm taking that because that is my portable workstation. Okay, that is this machine that I have sitting here in front of me, my huge, Mac tower that's like all decked out with, a million of everything. That power is in that 17-inch MacBook. However, when I'm going away for a weekend, when I'm going somewhere, when I go up to the radio station and work up there or something, I want to take my Chromebook because it's thin, it's light, and I would say about 80% of what I need to do can be accomplished on here. So today, I want to show you guys how you can do some really good near Photoshop level editing on a Chromebook. Now, because it's a Chrome browser, everything can happen inside a regular Chrome browser. So I don't have to actually show it to you on this unit. I can show it to you in my Chrome browser. So let me bring it up, and we will go to, let's see, there we go. All right, I'm going to cut over. Here we are. This is my Chrome browser. You will see this on a Chromebook. You will see this on a Mac. You will see this on a Linux. You will see this on a Windows PC. Doesn't matter. A tab in Chrome. And if you go to Pixlr, Pixlr.com, Pixlr, and launch it, you will come up with something that looks like this. A nice, pretty background. And you scroll down, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. Pixlr is owned by Autodesk. They're the people that make 3D Studio Max and some other really cool 3D hardware and software. And if you launch their web app, you will come up with a very similar to Photoshop experience. Let me see if I can make this big. There we go. Now, here's the Pixlr interface. We're going to create a new image, so I'm just going to hit create a new image. And I'm going to create, you know what? I'm going to do something custom. It's going to be a YouTube thumbnail, and it's going to be 1280 by 720. And there's my canvas. Now, take a look at this. If you're familiar with Photoshop, this is, I'm going to move this little promotion thing out here. Because it's free, you do get ads and stuff like that, which is okay. I am completely fine with that because this thing is free. I'm going to move my panels around just like you do in Photoshop. Isn't that cool? Check it out, layers. There's a layers panel over here on the background. This looks and feels like Photoshop. Look at your tools over here. Here is File, Edit, Image, Layer, Adjustment, Filter, View, Language Help, and Fonts. You can get more fonts. Isn't that cool? Now, let's just create something real quick. I've got this brand new canvas here. It's a 1280 by 720. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a YouTube thumbnail. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to choose Open Image. And I have got one on my hard drive that I'm going to load up. See? This is an image of Jillian, my daughter, when she was 4. And we're at a conference, and she is running the TriCaster. Cool, right? We taught her how to run the TriCaster, and she was actually switching a concert by, I can't remember who that was. But it was a concert, and we taught her how to switch and how to change camera angles and stuff. And she sat there for about 10 minutes and did it. Now, just like with Photoshop, I've got multiple documents open. I've got the one that I just created, the blank one, and I've got this picture which I want to bring into the blank one. So just like in Photoshop, I can click on the background image here, and I can drag it over to the other one, and it automatically drops it in. See? So I can go ahead and close that one because I got the resource into it now. And we need to scale this. So I'm going to go to, let's see, where did it go? There it is. Edit, transform, free transform. And I'm going to hold down my shift key because I want to constrain the proportions. I don't want it getting all janky on me. So I'm going to scale this up a little bit so that it takes up the right amount of space in my image that I want. I'm going to do it about like that. I'm going to hit enter, and that is going to lock it in. So, see, there's my image. Now, check it out. Just like in Photoshop, I want to add a piece of text on here. So I'm going to go to my text tool, and I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to type in, this is going to be for live streaming, so I'm going to call it live streaming. I'm going to change the color. Let's just make it white. And let's check out the fonts. What do we have here font-wise? What looks good? What looks good? I've always liked that one. What looks really good? Ooh, that Children's Sands. I think I'm going to use that in a minute. There we go. I like that one. All right, and we'll just make it center aligned. And I'm going to make it bigger, so I'm going to increase the size here. There you go. That works for me. So live streaming. Then I can click on the arrow, and I can move it around to where I want it to be. I'm going to want it to be about right there. Now, let's make another piece of text. And what we're going to do is say, so easy, a child can do it. So, let's see. So easy. Even a child can do it. Okay, and let's make that white. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's say that's exactly what we want, okay? Just for the sake of argument. I could tweak the heck out of this forever. But we don't have forever. Now, you know what? We got a white table. We got white. I mean, this is kind of in the way. We got, all right, so let's make another layer, and let's see if we can like darken this area. So I'm going to come over here to the background and select it, and I'm going to make a new layer. And on that new layer, I'm going to put a gradient. All right. So I'm going to move that up. There we go. Had to do it above the background layer. So there's my gradient. Well, the problem is I can't see Gigi now. So how are we going to fix this? Well, on this gradient, we can hit the little layer settings. And just like in Photoshop, we have access to the opacity, right? That's not bad. Let's try it at 100. And we've got our blend modes under normal. Blend modes, normal, add. Let's see what add does. Okay, I don't like that. Let's see what darken does. That's better. Let's try erase. Bye-bye. Let's try hard light. See? These, if you play with Photoshop, you already know how all these are. I don't like that screen. Does overlay do? No, that's too rich in color. Multiply. There you go. I think multiply is going to work. Now, I've darkened this area, but the problem, though, is that it's darkening this one a little bit more. So I'm just going to try dragging this over. See how I'm dragging this layer over? Just like in Photoshop, right? I'm going to drag this layer over. Now I have what I'm looking for. There's my YouTube thumbnail. or my ad or my sermon graphic or whatever it is that I'm making. Now I can save it. File, save. And what's the format? Do I want to save it to the Pixlr cloud? Do I want to save it to my computer? Let's save it to my computer. What format do I want? I have the PXD, which is the layered Pixlr image, which means it is a native file that Pixlr understands. Just like in Photoshop, the PSD is the native file format for Photoshop. TIFF. Let's see. Do we have any options with TIFF? So if I want to save it as a TIFF, does it give me any options? It does not seem to. What would be cool is if it would give me the option to save layers and stuff. Now, if I think I want to come back and actually edit this later, what I can do when I save it is I can save it using their native format, the layered format, which is fine. And I'm going to save that. And I now have this version that I can come right back to and edit. I can turn on layers, turn off layers, whatever I want to do. And then I want to have my JPEG, right? Because the JPEG is what I'm going to upload to YouTube. Now, by the way, if I had done this with like some transparency, like half the background was transparent or something, and I wanted to like have clear areas that I could put like on a web page or something, I can do a PNG file with transparency, which is great. In this case, the JPEG, and I'm going to bump up the quality all the way to 100. I'm going to save it, and there's my file. Now, let's go see if we can. I'm just going to, I'm over on the other window here. I'm going to bring over, let me unmaximize that. I'm going to bring over my Finder menu, and here's the original, and here is the version I just saved. And I'm now ready to upload this to YouTube, and we can go and do our thing. Not bad, right? Not too shabby. So that is Pixlr. Pixlr is free. Pixlr is cool. Pixlr is like having Photoshop in your browser window, and I love it. What it does is it gives me the ability to be thin and light traveling using my Chromebook and still be able to create high-quality graphics for the CTA website or for our church's website, or if my pastor gives me some bullet points or something and wants me to make slides for the sermon, I can make all those in Pixlr while I'm out and about. I don't have to be here doing it or be at the office at the church doing it. I can do it all here and then save it and upload it to my Google account or whatever. And then when I get up to the church, or put it on a thumb drive, whatever, when I get up to the church, I can then load it into ProPresenter, and it's all nice and ready for the service. So that is Pixlr. Go to pixlr.com. I've got links down below for that. Pixlr is really cool. I suggest you add it to your arsenal and your quiver, your toolbox. Okay, I think it's going to serve you well. So enjoy Pixlr. Now, I'm going to bring up the interview that I did with the guys over at ChurchCom Today. So take it away, Neil. Check.
Training Academy. Hello, Dave.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's such an honor.
Carrie, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a very basic question, which is going to be really helpful to me, Dave, as an Episcopalian especially. Why is video and video streaming important for congregations?
That's a really good question. Well, we live in a world where information is flowing extremely quickly. And we live in a world full of people that are constantly moving, constantly taking in bits and pieces of information. And as it turns out, a large percentage of the information that they're getting is coming through audio and video. A lot of us learn in a couple of different ways. It's interesting. Very seldomly do we learn information by reading it in a giant, thick book. Now, we do learn. And some of us can really internalize that, but it may not really take hold until maybe somebody shows us how to do something. So if you want me to go and change the oil on my car, you can write a treatise on how to change the oil in my car. And I can read through that and hope that your descriptions are good. If I watch a video on how to change the oil in my car, I can get a much better idea of how to do it. The best way is for a guy who knows how to do it to come over and he and I together work on my car. Watching someone teach you something on video with you and the Holy Spirit and your Bible is better. And then obviously one-on-one discipleship is the best. One-on-one discipleship for a congregation happens on the one-on-one level, whereas corporately, it's either the guy up there preaching, or in this case, using video to extend what's happening right there in the worship service, the live event, as it were, for the week. And for congregations, having the ability to participate in the live event, Sunday morning service, when you're not there. So being able to participate remotely, for example, you're not there right now. So if you're not there on Sunday, if you can log into your church on their website and watch the service and listen and participate and worship and everything remotely, you're still connected to that group of people for that time. And if you can't do it right then when it's live, then having the ability to come back later, through a podcast or through the YouTube channel for the church or what have you, and either pick up where you left off or take care of it, on Monday or Tuesday or Sunday night or, at your leisure and stuff. That there's a huge benefit to that. Instead of just, I missed the live event. And now 2 weeks I'm out and I've missed the live event. And then you start feeling further and further and further disconnected from your body. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great answer. Thank you.
There's all of this stuff going on, and we have folks who wonder, some of this isn't cheap, some of it is cheap. Is it worth it to consider streaming in the congregation?
Okay. Let's look at this from, there's two perspectives to look at this, okay? I come from the corporate and infotainment world, okay? So I've been live streaming and doing video production and thousands of episodes of tech related shows and entertainment shows and stuff like that. So the goal there in that world, if I'm doing entertainment or infotainment, is to build an audience and engage with that audience and ideally come up with sponsor deals, a certain amount of money. That's how you make money. And if you can't build a business around what you're doing, or if it doesn't help build the business that you're currently building, then it's not worth it necessarily to put the effort and the time in to do it. Now, that's from a secular perspective. When you're taking a look at it from a spiritual perspective, I always go back to the Great Commission. So go out into the world and make disciples. Notice he said make disciples. He didn't say go out in the world and preach and stand up in front of people and call them all to come over to your synagogue or your home church or your Lutheran church or your Episcopal church. He said go out and make disciples. So if our goal as Christians at large and church in specific, if our goal is to make disciples and our goal is to change people's lives and to introduce them to Christ and to having a personal relationship with Christ and being redeemed, then where I sit, it is worth it. It is worth it if you have one person once a year through this effort comes to know Christ who would not necessarily come walking into the front door of your church, but that person is reached and can get hopefully plugged in with a body of believers where they are, then I say it's worth it. Because otherwise, that person's not in the kingdom. And Scripture says that the angels, I can't remember the exact phrase, but when it was explained to me, I always thought it was one thing. So when someone comes to saving knowledge of Christ, we have heard that it says that the angels are cheering in heaven. But the way the Scripture is written, it says the angels, there is cheering before the angels in heaven or something like that, which means it is God who is cheering. And that's just over one. You remember Jesus talked about, if you got a flock of sheep and one goes astray, you leave the flock and go get the one and bring it back. So if it costs us $1,000 to get a laptop and get an adapter and get a camera and get it set up alongside with our sound system, and we can stream that, and somebody through that effort deepens their relationship with Christ, comes to know Christ, it's definitely worth it. I mean, you can't really put a price on that. Otherwise, heaven would be one person short.
Good point. You talk about 4 streaming modes.
Yeah.
Would you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah.
I talk a lot about adding live streaming to your ministry. Okay, so that doesn't always mean the formal live production. If we step back and take a look at what happens over the course of 7 days at any given church, all of the effort is being put into the Sunday morning service, or the 2 or 3 Sunday morning services, depending on the size of your church. Or if your church is even bigger, it could be the Saturday night service and then the 3 Sunday morning services, etc. That's where all the focus is. So there's a lot to learn about how to live stream and video and live stream that event. Okay. Beyond that, there's 5 working days at the church, and then there's stuff happening on Saturday that are maybe in anticipation of the service on Sunday that's building up. You've got things going on at the church. You've got staff members. You got doing all that, and there's elements of that you can live stream. You can introduce live streaming into that. So if we take a look at live streaming as a whole and we start breaking it down, I've come up with 4 modes. And this is, I've been doing this a long time, and the folks that I've worked with over the years and stuff, we all kind of said, if we take a look at everything you can do with live streaming and you break it down, there's like 4 modes. First one is selfie mode. And my wife has my phone. Let's make the assumption this is my phone. Okay. We've all seen this. Everybody walks around, holding up their phone, taking a picture, and look, the Washington Monument and all this kind of stuff. Or people are live streaming now more than any time in history, actually. And they may be sitting there live streaming what's going on, or they may be doing it themselves. So selfie mode is the first one, and that is the one that you can deploy the fastest. And when you're doing selfie mode, a lot of times you can live stream your service doing selfie mode. You can have some poor schmuck standing there, like this forever, streaming the service. And, he's going to get gorilla arms and they're going to hurt and all that sort of stuff. So it's really not the best use of selfie mode. However, throughout the course of the week, your ministerial team can make fantastic use of it. The pastor sits in his study for a few hours a day working on stuff. If he grabbed his phone and while he was going to lunch or, going down the hall or whatever, just walked around and said, here's what God's showing me this week, and went live for 5 minutes and just sort of shared some insights that are happening as he's preparing for the Sunday service, that's fantastic, engaging content in the middle of the week that just kind of pops up on somebody's, Facebook feed. And, hey, there's my pastor, and they can take a moment out and engage with him and chat and stuff. That builds that relationship that, especially the larger churches where the pastor is harder to get to for the people in the congregation. Because especially the larger hundreds, and he is one. So he can't go to lunch with every single family. I mean, it would take a couple of years, just to get through, a church of 250 people, every Sunday going to lunch with them, So he can build that relationship there using selfie mode. If you take selfie mode and move up to the next level, you've got what I call Indy mode, like independent filmmaker mode, indie film. If you could take in fact, I've got one. Hang on. if you take your phone and put it in some kind of a stabilizing device, where, you know, this one's for my wife's iPhone 5, and it's called an iographer. And this iographer, what it allows you to do, for one thing, you know, your phone is only, you know, it's only so big. And if you're holding it like this, you don't have much control. When you use something like an iographer, you have good handles on it. You've got a wider footprint, so you can have a much more stable platform for you to hold your camera on. It's going to be less shaky. What the iographer lets you do is take lenses and mount them and get a better image. You know, I've got, let's see, this one is a telephoto lens. So I've got a telephoto lens that I can screw onto this device, and then you can snap your phone in, and now you can have a better image. You've also got some shoe mounts, cold shoe mounts. So I could like put a light right here, and I could also mount like a microphone right here, like a shotgun mic. Or, I mean, you could like take a wireless mic pack and mount it here, and then have the person who you're live streaming, like your pastor or whoever, could wear a wireless mic. And now you've got good quality image. You've got it stabilized. If you need to put it on a tripod, you've got a screw mount, so you could mount it on a tripod. So now you've got a video camera. You got the video camera you carry in your pocket, and you've started treating it more like a regular proper camera to get a much better image, right? So Selfie and Indy Mode, those are what you can start right now, and those are what you can, I mean, both you guys, as soon as you get off this call, you can start using those in your ministries. If you want to kind of go a little more formal, and like have maybe one or two like real cameras, you know, like video cameras, or, you know, your DSLR camera or something like that, and really start to pick up the quality, then you move into what I'm calling desktop mode. And that's actually what I'm using here. This is my studio where I do all my editing and content creation and all that stuff. And I have a live set out in my garage. I've converted into a studio out there. In here, I've got a webcam that I'm talking to you guys on. And I've got like some software, like, I mean, there's a bunch of different kinds. There's some software called Wirecast, which it's about a $600 piece of software. But what it lets you do is take, say, a bunch of webcams, or a mixture of, say, webcams and, you know, like a nice camcorder, and you can use all those as inputs and live stream from there. So you could have, say, somebody standing, you know, in the back with a camera, and have that camera going into your laptop, and they're on a tripod, and so they kind of zoom up to the pastor, and as the pastor is pacing back and forth on the stage, you know, they follow him just like you would if you were just doing regular video, right? And then maybe have another camera in the back that's kind of got a wide shot that shows, you know, the stage in the back and the things that are happening up towards the front, and then, you know, the tops of people's heads and stuff like that, you know, for a perspective kind of shot, you know, sort of like an establishing shot, so that, you know, you're not just watching the guy pacing back and forth the entire time, because that can get visually boring. But you're upping your production game. You're using more professional, getting closer to professional level equipment, consumer level equipment that's of much higher quality, and mixing it all together and putting in graphics and doing stuff like that. And that's desktop mode. Then you can do what I'm calling broadcast mode, which is more professional level equipment. You can use cameras, you know, a wide range of cameras. You basically will have a computer or a production, some production equipment that is purpose built for doing live streaming and broadcast and recording. Okay. You know, Neil, you and I use TriCasters from New Tech. So we've got these boxes that cost anywhere from, you know, $5,000 to, you know, $50,000, depending on, you know, what, you know, how big, you know, how robust the unit is going to be. And we're able to plug in cameras and put them at different locations and run long cables and things like that. And we can sit there and kind of treat it as if we're like a television studio where we've got multiple cameras coming in. I mean, if you look,
that's been my experience. Is you have the capability of doing things all across the building, and Skyping someone in like we're doing, and I mean, being able to do much bigger things. For example, if you're using it to put like a TriCaster in particular to also feed the screens. You could have a missionary from Africa on Skype and be putting that up, but that's that level of equipment that takes a little more investment.
Yeah, it does, and you can on a smaller scale, you can do you can move between desktop mode and broadcast mode just by upgrading some of that equipment that you may already have. So if you have if you're doing it on your laptop and you get started and we're in desktop mode, but you want to kind of start creeping into broadcast mode without putting out tons of extra money, you could say buy a desktop computer and get a couple of nice video capture cards that cost $200 or $300 a piece and put them in there, and then run Wirecast or run the live stream studio software, and get to that level at a little bit lower cost, or sort of piece your way into broadcast level. Or you can do like we did, where we said, I want a dedicated box that is purpose built for doing this. The hardware and the software are built and written to work together seamlessly. Turn it on, let it boot up, and then start. And that's what you and I have the ability to do. And a lot of the larger churches have to have that as well, because they have the budget to do that. And they may be using TriCasters. They could be using live stream units. They could be using Blackmagic design hardware where they buy different components and piece them all together. There's a lot of flexibility in building out a system like that, pre-built or piecing it together. But once you have that, like you said, you do have the ability to really broaden what you can do and what you can be using the system for. It's amazing.
So a quick question.
And that was my talk with, or a portion of my talk with Neil and his team over at ChurchCom today. And I want to thank Neil for the opportunity to visit with them and for the honor of being one of the first folks to come onto their show. It's really cool. Now, if you guys are looking to live stream, if you're questioning how do I live stream, if you're thinking live streaming may be something we want to bring into our ministry in some way, then I got a free resource for you. If you just go to easylivestreaming.com, you can download a free guide called Live Streaming for Churches, the Easy Way, and it's going to show you what's out there and show you what's possible and show you how you can actually, like as soon as you open it up and start reading it, you'll learn how you can immediately add live streaming to your ministry in a couple different ways, and then we'll show you what's possible if you move up beyond, say, Indy Mode or the Selfie Mode, Indy Mode. Show you how to move into desktop mode and broadcast mode. So that is for you, and that is free, and I hope it helps you guys. Thank y'all so much for watching today. Thank you for joining us, both live in the chat room. I want to thank everybody that's been in there, and thank you guys so much for making CTA Live a part of your week. And if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, please leave them below. I'll have a few links down there to some of the resources that we talked about in here in this episode and that was in the interview over at ChurchCom today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take what you've learned today and go out and change some lives. All right. So that is it with today's live show. If there's anybody got any questions or anything, then I will be happy to take those. Otherwise, I'm just going to say I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week.